Good morning, class 5. Just some very quick, I promise, modelling on adverbials, linking paragraphs in your letter. So, underneath my board here, I've got the start of my letter. You have to excuse my handwriting. I'm not using lined paper, but it's to Stanley's mum and dad. Couple of questions. How are you? Any luck with those trainers yet? Linking to what I've obviously read in the book and the kind of things I think Stanley would ask his parents. And then I've done my first paragraph about the journey to Camp Green Lake. And I've kind of talked about the fact it's 8 hours, and towards the end it's bumpy and hot. And then I've come on to my next paragraph, and this is where I'm going to start linking, move that down a bit, with adverbials. So I've chosen eventually to start my next paragraph. The reason I'm starting a new paragraph is because I'm sort of changing the topic here. I've gone from talking about the journey to talking about the staff at Camp Green Lake. So I've chosen eventually. It kind of shows that he's coming to the end of something quite long and quite difficult. And it feeds really nicely into the next part where he goes into the cabin and meets Mr. Sir. So we've got eventually it stopped. I was marched into an air-conditioned cabin. I'm going to continue using adverbials even though I'm still writing within a paragraph. You don't just need to use them to start paragraphs. You can use them in the paragraphs as well. So I'm going to introduce Mr. Sir, and he's behind a desk at the time, so it makes complete sense to start my next sentence with the adverbial phrase behind a battered old desk. So we've got behind, so we've got an adverbial of place there. Behind a battered, comma, so listing, old desk, sat. Battered old desk. I also need a comma here, so I'm coming to the end of my fronted adverbial there. Behind a battered old desk sat a crinkled, comma, grey face, chewing noisily on sunflower seeds. And full stop. I would now, if I was doing the whole letter, go on to describe Mr. Sir a little bit more in this paragraph. Maybe talk about the fact that he didn't offer a drink to Stanley, but he gave it to the other men. Talk about his gun, how threatening he was. And then when I've reached the end of that paragraph, I'm going to move on to my final point, which is on the task list I gave you, to talk about the accommodation. So on my plan, I've already chosen an adverbial for that, so I'll just share that with you to give you an idea. You might want to use this one yourself as well, which is totally fine. The adverbial I'm using to start the next paragraph, to link with my next sort of talking point in the letter, is beyond the cabin. So again, it's an adverbial of place. You might find yourself using quite a lot of these today because he is writing home to tell his family about Camp Green Lake, so you're going to be talking about the place a lot. Beyond the cabin. And then I've just perfectly linked Mr. Sir and the cabin into my next paragraph where I talk about the accommodation, and I can go on and carry on with that paragraph. Just slide that up there so you can see. That's the kind of thing I'm looking for today. Try and do what I've done and pick out maybe some adverbials that will help you link your 3 main paragraphs. Pop them on your plan before you start writing, because it does make it a lot easier than having to stop midway through your letter and kind of read through that word mat and try and find the right adverbial. If you can choose them first, it really helps you just get that flow and the writing feels a lot more natural. So good luck, and I'd love to see some examples if any of you want to email them to me, and I can have a read and maybe share some tomorrow morning in our video. Good luck, and I can't wait to read what you've written.